Well, good morning. This is a new adventure. Um, we usually meet together for the forums in the upper room, but we are doing this virtually today. And there are several items that I have on my list to talk about, and they're informational things. But if you do wish to ask questions or interact in some way, please feel free to do that. I see Pastor Tim and Pastor Joan are on here. So if we need some assistance in answering some of the questions, and particularly with the outreach ministry partnerships that we are working with, I'll turn to Joan and we'll see where we go with all of this. The first thing that I want to do is to communicate a thank you to you. We have entered into this liminal time sort of suddenly. I think we had a meeting around the 10th of March and decided at that time that we were going to suspend in-person worship. And we went from that Wednesday or Thursday of that week into the mode of doing things via online with our services, our meetings. Everything that we have done since the middle of March has been online. In fact, I have not even been to the church facility since mid-March. So I want to thank all the staff, but particularly Sammy, Eric, Joan, Audrey, Tim, and Emil for all the hard work that has been done to seamlessly move us into a new era of communication. And that is a good segue into the first point that I want to make. And that is our online presence through streaming our worship service will go on, and we are going to try to continue to develop that. The trustees just 10 days ago or so voted to purchase the equipment that we need to stream and do live streaming from the sanctuary. And that the contract was signed this past week, and installation will begin as soon as possible so that we can do a quality job from the sanctuary going forward. And this will be a normal part of our church life, is to do things online. So every Sunday morning will be streamed from the sanctuary to our various homes. So even if you cannot get to worship, there will be the capability of joining us online that Sunday morning, or listening to it, watching it some other time during the week. That's very important, particularly in this day and age. Our strategy for reopening the church building is complex. It is complicated. While there are many churches that are eager to get back to in-person worship, of which I understand completely, we are taking our time because we have not only a large congregation, we also have a broad age range distribution. We have folks from infancy right up to the elderly, and the two populations that we are very concerned about are the folks who are over 60 and the children. And so we've got to be very, very careful. By last count, I think we had identified that somewhere around 40% of our congregation is over the age of 60. That means they're fairly high risk. And we've got to make sure that what we do is going to be safe for our people. So we are going to take this in stages so that what we're going to do is that as soon as we can, the leaders of worship are going to return to the sanctuary and do the continuation of online worship just from the sanctuary for a while. Then in that in-between time, before we open the doors for all folks to be able to return, we are also working diligently with the committee in place. Dave Walker has put together a committee to work with us in doing this hard work of study and putting in place all the safeguards that will be needed to re-enter the building for worship. The likelihood is that not only will everyone be expected to wear masks, but we are sorting through the sign-up dynamics so that we can trace should something happen and someone gets sick and they do so from being in the church, but we'll be able to trace and make those connections. We are looking at taking temperatures every Sunday morning for those who do gather. We're looking at the possibility of even staggering worship times a bit to be able to handle larger numbers, but in smaller groupings. So all of that is vital to our planning, and we are going to take our time and do what we can to do it not only right, but safely for your benefit, for all of our benefits. That also brings me to one other thing that you need to hear, is that our facilities are complicated from the standpoint of we have two of those facilities. We have not only the church building, but we have the First Place building. So we have to monitor both places very carefully. And as much as our facilities are used, particularly by other folks besides just our congregation, we must be very intentional about doing the diligence to make sure that we are safe, whether it's at First Place or in the church building. So that's those two items of online presence and reopening the church. Are there any questions or things that anyone wants more information about on those two items? Any chatting going on, Sammy?
I have one comment from Nayan that is, I'd like to show appreciation to the church leadership for all what they've been doing. Although the worship online pastors were very effective. I love the themes, these centered on love, hope, social justice, and equity. The messages have given clear paths to orient our lives and actions during these tough times. Thank you for delivering these messages with purpose. Peace and love to you. And that's from Nayan.
Thank you very much, Nayan. That's deeply appreciated. Anything else coming?
That is the only one I see on Zoom, and I don't see any on Facebook currently.
Okay. I think there was just one from Lori Myskowski.
Okay, hold on one second. Yep, one from Lori. We appreciate the care and love that is going into the future planning. And then there's also one more. We appreciate the careful approach to reopening and couldn't agree more that the online services have been essential to our week.
Great. Very good. Thank you. Thank you for those comments. We are also, now the theme is going to change a little bit, and we're going to talk for a moment about faith development. Even come fall, we are looking to be very careful about classes and placement of classes. We want folks to be engaged, but we are exploring ways to have classes online as well. We've tested that in a couple of ways. We have a Tuesday morning gathering that does feedback with the pastor or the preacher from the Sunday, and we talk about both the sermon as well as entertain questions. There has been coffee with Pastor Tim and Pastor Joan online. We've been very successful in doing meetings by Zoom, even though many of us have Zoom fatigue. We are continuing to do that and are grateful for this way that we have to be able to engage one another, make our plans, and learn. But what we're going to do is to look at how that will impact our Christian education opportunities come fall. And there is a likelihood that we will at least offer some classes at other times during the week and have them online rather than in person. If they happen to be in person, they will be, there will be a boundary of 10 people, a maximum of 10 people that will come together, and in a facility that you can be at 6 feet of distance. So we are working on all of that as well. We don't have the answers yet, nor do we have particular faith development classes or opportunities that will be introduced, but we're working on all that. And there is a likelihood that you'll hear something soon about a couple of opportunities online. Any questions or feedback about that?
I don't see any comments as of now. I do see a couple of responses. One from Patsy. I appreciate the considerations that you are giving to this. And Leandro, who said that this is great information and service.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I think I'm going to turn to Pastor Joan, if she will, and talk a little bit about the outreach and ministry partnerships that we have worked on and developed.
Yeah, thanks. I'll just give a summary of what we've been doing in the social justice, community outreach, and mission programs during this time. First of all, we're working diligently to find ways to safely restart the work program, hopefully in the next few months, and we're creatively thinking through what that program and our MLK tutoring program can look like as we move forward during this time with many unknowns. So I'm working with the staff for both of those First Church programs. And in the meantime, we've been keeping in touch with each of our local ministry partners on a very regular basis to discover the best ways to support what they're doing in our community. Much of our involvement has been finding ways both within our budget and outside asks outside of our budget to increase our financial support of some of our local ministry partners that are doing really exceptional work in our community during this pandemic. So we provide support to CCOM, NECOM, Feeding America, Heartside Ministries, and Degage. And we plan to feature our partnership with Family Promise in the upcoming weeks. So we've been trying to just be in touch with those organizations and figure out what exactly they need to continue their work. One of the increased community needs during this time has been around food security. And Jim Stromer, one of our social justice team members, headed up the Walk for Good Food, which was carried out online and individually rather than in a large group this year. The walk concluded on May 13th, and it was very successful in helping to support access of West Michigan. So thanks to everyone that participated in that. And beginning on Wednesday, June 18th, we're planning a 4-week food drive to help support our partners at the Westminster Food Pantry. We'll be accepting food drop-offs at First Church in our North Barclay parking lot, and our volunteers will then be bringing the food safely to Westminster each Wednesday. So a list of the foods that they need and some more details will be in your announcements and newsletter next week, so keep an eye out for that. Our missions team continues to work together with our global partners, supporting the work that they're doing during this time. Many of our mission trips are postponed, of course. So for now, we're trying to find ways to be advocates from our own homes. We heard from Happy, one of our partners in Haiti, that their annual Nutrition Day and Well Child Checkup that we helped sponsor was able to successfully happen with their current COVID-19 restrictions. So that's really good news. And at this point, we're planning to take our Easter mission offering as soon as we're able to worship in person again. And like Pastor Bob was saying, that might happen kind of over time this year. One more important piece of our work in the social justice team and mission team that intersects all of that is that we're working together with First Church staff and congregation to find new ways to participate in racial justice with education and action. Our hope is that all of this will help us bring about a greater realization of our interconnectedness.
I have a question that was asked from Lois. Is monetary donations to Feeding America the best way to help with food needs?
Right now, they are looking for monetary donations. There are, in general, food needs. Again, we're going to do this partnership with the Westminster Food Pantry, which actually starts on June 17th for 4 weeks, on Wednesday, June 17th. And then with Feeding America, a lot of their food distributions are happening in new kind of drive-through models. And so we're hoping that our July 11th distribution will be able to happen too. So we may be able to safely have volunteers for that event as well.
Thank you. I see another comment that from Jim that said the Walk for Good Food raised around $5,000, and thanks to all. And then appreciation from Joyce, who says, thank you so much. All of this sounds great, and you have all done so very much.
Thanks. And thanks again to Dave Rao and Ian Charnley and the missions and community outreach and social justice teams that have put in a lot of work during this time.
All right. Pastor Tim, are you still with us?
I am. Here I am. I am relocated to the upper room where there's a little bit of air circulating, so that's
okay.
Nice.
Would you talk a little bit about the things that are going on with congregational care?
Certainly, our commitment to congregational care continues in many different ways. We have established a calling program where we're connecting with all the different members of our congregation in different ways, mostly through phone communication, some through email and other forms. But we started that up in late March, and special thanks to Denise Neiswanger and for many of the others who helped put a lot of that together. That vital work has been really helpful. We've had several Zoom conversations with those callers to see ways to feedback and also hear what's going on. So that's been a great gift. Our lives have certainly changed. And as we highlighted in the prayer of remembrance or the remembering time today, many of the things that we would do to care for one another, we cannot do safely because we can't be in connection with each other. So we're re-looking at a lot of those things and how we can continue to find ways to grieve, to celebrate, to remember. And so we're looking at a lot of those different things that we will be bringing in the next few months as we work through this together. We have not had a memorial service or a funeral service out of First Church at this point in time, but we know that there are many lives that we need to celebrate. And so we're looking at those, of course, so we can have those when the time is right. As you're aware, much of our time has been spent with the Clark retirement community and the pastoral care team there. We have been working daily since the pandemic. Our team has been working, while we can't be in Clark, we have found many ways to adapt our services and provide pastoral care services to those residents at Clark and those dealing with COVID-19 residents and staff. So our prayers are with them as well as our presence that we can safely do. That's just kind of a minimal amount of, kind of a quick snapshot of the things that we've been doing in this time.
Good, thank you. I see Eric's name on my sheet. Is he with us? No?
Hello.
Yeah, there he is. Eric, first of all, I want to say to not only the folks, but also to Eric, thanks for all the work that Eric has done to keep music a vital part of our Sunday worship and doing it in amazingly creative ways to do the kind of work that he has provided for us. But what I would like you to do a little bit, Eric, is give them a snapshot of the implications of what it might look like for us in terms of singing in the church.
Well, singing was identified early on as possibly a sort of a spreading type of activity for COVID because of some incidents with a choir in Washington State and some other choirs, but it's unclear exactly the extent of how much more dangerous singing is than other activities. So there is a study that's being sponsored by an international organization of symphonic and opera musicians. It's a large study that's going to take place in the month of July to examine instruments as well as singing and to see just how dangerous that is. And it has big implications for, of course, congregational singing, for choral rehearsals, for instrumental rehearsals, and colleges and universities and conservatories and schools of music and high schools and all kinds of educational institutions are looking at this and asking themselves, what do rehearsals and what does performance look like? Many symphony orchestras have simply taken all of next year's season and moved it a year later, and next year are focusing on small, sort of socially, physically distanced performances. It's a big question, and they're trying to just clarify exactly what the risks are between singing, between speaking loudly, between interactions of all sorts, so that one activity is not singled out over another, but we really do understand the risks. So studies are underway, and we are following those really closely.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. We'll take a minute and see if there are any questions or responses from anybody for either Pastor Tim or Eric.
I'm going to sneak in for a second. As people write their questions in the chat comments, I will see those in just a second. Thank you to all who are joining us on Zoom and on Facebook. Just a reminder that there's a survey online that you can fill out, and that survey really helps us as we make plans, especially for online offerings. And so feel free to use the comment space in the survey to make your suggestions. If you're comfortable, leave your name and your email address, so that way if something comes about because of your comment, we can make sure to directly let you know that that is being offered because of a suggestion. So just that quick one. And then I want to read a comment from Mary. I appreciate all the work you do to make a meaningful worship service every week. It is the anchor for my week, and I suspect that it is true for others too. In this period of mourning for me, it is especially important. I'm very grateful. Being able to sing the hymns out loud is helpful for me. Thank you very much.
Okay. Two last items for me. One is to just update you that because of the COVID-19 virus, a lot of things were postponed in the United Methodist Church. So general conference that was supposed to be held, their every 4-year conference was postponed from May of 2000 to of 2020. Sorry, general conference was postponed from May of 2020 to August, the end of August of 2021. 2021. Our annual conference was supposed to have been held last week, actually, and it was canceled or postponed and will regather online at the end of July. Jurisdictional conference was also postponed, but to my knowledge, I don't believe they have set a date yet. And the primary role of the jurisdictional conference is to elect bishops. Based on what I have read, it appears that during this COVID-19 pandemic, they have requested the current sitting bishops to continue one more year and get us through this crisis time. So that's an update about all of that. Finally, my thanks to you about your financial support for First United Methodist Church. At one point, I think it was at the end of April, we have the end of May figures, but at the end of April, your giving was 103% of the budget year to date. So your giving has been incredibly positive and incredibly faithful. And we are so, so grateful for your commitment to your church. The second part of that is that we also filed the paperwork necessary to be the recipient of the government opportunity for small businesses to underwrite the salaries. It is a grant loan combination that if you use it for salary support, then it will shift to being a grant rather than a loan. So we are keeping fastidious reporting on all of that expenditure, and we'll be able probably to have most of it as a grant. So all of our staff has been securely paid, and it will continue through the 12th of July from that grant. So I think your faithfulness combined with that extra blessing of that grant has meant that we are in good shape financially, and we are most appreciative of that. I think that's all the topics that I have on my list. If there are any questions or other things that you want to write in, Sammy will read them. Otherwise, we'll close in prayer and be about our day.
Saying a prayer to pastors and staff from Joyce. Thank you, Joyce.
Anything else? Then let's join together in prayer, shall we? Gracious God, for the faithfulness of your people and the way in which you continue to work in and through the folks of First United Methodist Church, we give you thanks. We ask you to bless not only our congregation, but bless us as we are instruments of your grace and peace in our community. Work in us, work among us, we pray in Christ's name. Amen. All right. Thank you. Have a good day.